I'm Dan Kahn, and this is Fast News from Kahn Media. We're kicking things off this week with the latest news and up-to-the-minute business stories you can't miss. First, let me take a minute to acknowledge the challenges our country is currently facing. The pandemic created an unprecedented challenge for businesses across the country and around the world. Now, as things are finally opening back up, the protests and civil unrest across the country are causing even more hardship for small businesses in cities nationwide. I'm not going to get into politics here, but I do want to say something. Our country was forged in fire and conflict. We're a nation of entrepreneurs, of hustlers, and of doers. And small businesses employ the majority of the people in our country. So we're down, but we're not out. I'm wearing this shirt for a reason. My friend Bruce Meyer has a great expression: never lift. That means even when you're down a lap and things are tough, you stand on the gas. Don't let up. Don't stop. Don't lift. And that's the message I want to put out today. We're down, but we're not out. Some of the best businesses in history were created in downturns. So this is the time we all pivot, and we do it together. Now, let's get to the news. On Wednesday, the Senate unanimously voted to pass legislation extending PPP loans from 8 to 24 weeks, giving businesses more time to use the money and still get full forgiveness. That's great news for anyone who received PPP funding. It also extends the deadline to rehire workers all the way out to December 31st to qualify for loan forgiveness. Many businesses seeking loans were constricted by SBA regulations mandating that 75% of the expenses go to payroll. The new bill lowers the PPP fund threshold for payroll to 60%. That's great news because that means more money can be used for things like rent, utilities, and out-of-pocket business expenses. 9 weeks after Congress approved its largest ever economic relief measure to counter the coronavirus pandemic, most of the direct cash assistance aimed at keeping the economy afloat has now been spent or committed. Of the total $1.6 trillion in aid under the CARES Act, about $1.1 trillion has already been distributed, mostly going to small businesses. All told, Congress has passed 4 pieces of emergency legislation authorizing about $3.3 trillion in new spending and tax breaks. Now that we've moved from the rescue phase to the transitional reopening phase of the current situation, the Trump administration and Congress are considering other options for another round of stimulus funding to make sure the economy continues to stay strong as it reopens. Options being considered include another round of stimulus checks for individuals, extending enhanced unemployment benefits, my favorite, incentives to encourage people to return to work, and protections for employers from pandemic-related lawsuits. So, as an employer, if someone comes back and then does get sick, they can't sue you. The size and scope of the final package, which the White House officials predict won't be completed until July, will depend in part on the success of state-level reopening efforts and whether the economic downturn continues to reverse itself. On the automotive side of things, I've been getting a lot of questions from the automotive aftermarket about the SEMA Show. Is it happening? Are they going to cancel? Are you sure they're not going to cancel? So let me say this. As of June 4th, as we record this, the SEMA Show is on. Unless something dramatic happens that forces the county's hand, SEMA will happen. As one of the largest gatherings of small businesses in the country, the SEMA trade show is a critical commerce engine that drives a lot of business. So I actually applaud the staff for making the bold decision to move forward with the show when so many other events have been canceled. The show may be down a bit from prior years, but honestly, I think that's okay. The 2008 and 2009 shows during the downturn were among the best I've ever attended because all the tire kickers weren't there. It really was a trade show again, and business was strong. I expect something similar this year. And if the very, very strong sales numbers we've been getting from clients are any indication, I think our market is more resilient than most. We might have to skip the handshakes at the end of meetings this year, but I'm looking forward to seeing my friends, hearing their war stories, and getting some business done. I bet you are too. Speaking of which, SEMA released the results from its latest comprehensive survey of the automotive aftermarket today, and the results are really interesting. Here are some highlights that you might find fascinating. When asked about their business outlook, 88% of respondents said that either businesses are running normally or they expect them to be running normally in the short term. Regarding staffing, 69% of respondents said they expect they will either have full staffing or even an increase in staff by the end of the year. 62% of respondents said they received some form of SBA assistance, either a PPP loan or an EIDL loan. Interestingly, 48% of those that received PPP funds got them from a small or community bank. Most encouraging, 75% said they feel confident in their company's plan for dealing with the crisis and in the future. This is all encouraging news, especially as the stock market bounces back. I believe we're seeing sunlight break through the clouds right now as we speak, and the recovery will be more of a V shape than a U shape, which is good news. We also have new content this week, the 6th installment in our KM 101 series, where we show you how to use LinkedIn to grow your business. Launched in 2003, LinkedIn has grown from a professional networking and employment website to become the world's largest online community of professionals. There are now more than 690 million users and 50 million companies on LinkedIn. If you think Facebook and Instagram are where you promote your brand on social media and LinkedIn is where you look for your next job, think again. LinkedIn is where business happens, and 4 out of 5 users drive business decisions on that platform. Especially if your company or brand is in the B2B space, you can't afford not to be active on LinkedIn. Our KM 101 deep dive on LinkedIn provides you with key statistics to understand the site, an understanding of how its algorithm actually works, and tips on how to leverage LinkedIn to grow your business and your personal network. LinkedIn has grown by 17% since the end of 2018, and its user base now includes 12.7% of the world's population of adults aged 18 and up. In the US, that includes 29% of men and 24% of women. That's a lot of people. 3 out of 5 LinkedIn users are in the 25 to 34 age group, and 57% of the traffic on the site comes from mobile. What's really impressive about LinkedIn is that engagement on the site has increased by 50% in the last year, largely due to the pandemic and how people are pivoting to mobile and digital. But here are 2 little-known facts you can use to your advantage. Less than 1% of LinkedIn users create content, and only about 100,000 posts are shared each month. That's a fraction of the content shared on Facebook or Instagram. LinkedIn has hundreds of millions of users, but only a tiny handful generate useful content that can be shared by others. With such a large unmet need for original content, LinkedIn represents a wide open and a totally underutilized opportunity for your brand content. We've done our research and identified 7 tips for you to drive engagement for your company or brand on LinkedIn. First, you need to publish content regularly. Second, you need to publish content that adds value. If you do those first 2 things, LinkedIn's ranking algorithm will reward you with way more eyeballs on your brand or personal page. 3, encourage employees to connect. 4, upload rich media, which is mostly video but could even be audio files like podcasts. 5, join LinkedIn groups, which are other similar groups to what you do for a living or even networking groups. 6, build showcase pages. And 7, use LinkedIn ads to build your network and drive eyeballs. Businesses today cannot afford to take an on-again, off-again approach to social media. So whether it's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or even a business-centric platform like LinkedIn, you need a well-planned, well-executed strategy to get the most out of your social media. That requires content creation as well as a hands-on, responsive approach to managing content and interactions with the users. In this week's newsletter, we also decided to try something new. For the past 3 months, we've been publishing weekly newsletters with content designed to help businesses survive the pandemic and actually grow as we climb out of it. How? By implementing a digital-first strategy and pivoting direct-to-consumer sales and filling your sales funnel through social media, digital media, and earned media, also known as PR. So, this week we decided to compile a greatest hits album of sorts. We pulled the best how-to articles out of that D2C strategy and put them together into a definitive guide on how to succeed at digital marketing for your brand, company, or even yourself personally. Topics include how to use the digital sales funnel, a definitive guide to digital marketing terms and metrics, which actually explains what all this stuff I'm talking about means, how to pivot from event marketing to virtual events, including some case studies and examples, how to leverage earned, paid, and owned media channels, a complete checklist for setting up your business to pivot to D2C, so even if you've never sold directly to consumer before, we tell you how. This is very comprehensive information, and like always, it's free. So check out the links below and reach out if you have any questions. That's all we have for this week, so please check out the stories listed below this video, hit subscribe on YouTube, and send us your feedback. Thanks again, and if you have any questions, send a note to fastnews@Kahn Media, Kahn Media.com. Thanks, and have a great week.